With World War II and the war effort, there's suddenly a huge need for precisely what the West has in excess. The West now has power in excess. Much of that power will flow into Hanford to help produce the atomic bomb. It'll flow into Seattle. It'll flow into Portland, which begin to be centers of aircraft manufacture and also centers of shipyard manufacture. Aluminum needs a huge amount of electricity. Aluminum mills are located in the West largely because the West has a surplus of electricity. So the government will locate aluminum mills along the Columbia in the Pacific Northwest to allow this to happen. At the same time, you're going to have steel mills showing up in Fontana in California and near Provo in Utah, that you're beginning to get everything that the West wanted precisely because the war effort now calls for this massive production, and the West, which has begun to develop the infrastructure during the Depression, now finds that the factories follow. And with the factories, people follow. There's a huge migration into the West. Proportionally, much more of it's going to come from rural West into urban West, from the Midwest and from the South than from the Northeast. But by and large, the West is far and away the fastest growing part of the country during World War II. So for the West, it becomes this almost perfect storm, that all the excess capacity which had been created during the Depression, now there's a need for it, and now there's federal investment on a scale that they hadn't even imagined during the Depression, as the federal government pours tons of money into the West, and particularly into California, giving a shipbuilding industry, an aircraft industry, steel industry, aluminum industry, all of these kinds of accoutrements of an industrial society the West had always wanted, it now has. And of course, this after the war is going to be the basis for the industrial capacity of the West and the defense industry in the West. But it goes beyond that. The government is also locating now large amounts of military forces in the West, because this is a two-front war. And it's not just people being sent to fight Japan. It's the West, precisely because it is isolated, because there are large amounts of land, because the weather is often clear for large parts of the year. They establish Air Force bases. They establish training bases all across the West. The West becomes the center of military-industrial complexes that will evolve in the late 20th century. All the roots are laid in World War II. All of this is federal spending. All of this comes out of World War II. And the West, by the end of it, is going to be utterly transformed.